Welcome to another creative interview here at Empire's Comics in shop, which is always nice. I like being able to sit down next to people. You guys all know David Andry, and we're here to tell you more about his new comic book. You've been on the show with us before.
Yes.
You have been at our free comic book days, so you
Yes.
always have a great presence. You've had stuff on the art wall from your Ghost Thunder Collective. And today, we are here to talk about something really exciting because small press here in Sacramento is a huge thing. There are so many people doing it, and they're putting out so many good products. But David has actually taken it to the next level. And he has a book coming out through Vault very, very soon.
Very soon.
So it's going to be released on
July 17th.
And it is called
Resonant through Vault Comics.
Through Vault Comics.
Yep.
And then he will be in here on July 31st signing all Wednesday. So you can get your comic in advance, bring it back, pick one up then, pick up an extra copy.
3 or 4.
3 or 4. You're going to want to give them to your friends. I
Yeah.
got a chance to read the first 2 issues, and it was beautiful. It was horrifying. It was suspenseful. There was great character development. So before we talk a little bit about the book, why don't you tell us a little bit about you? Where you came from, how you got, what got you into comic books?
Okay. So I've been into comic books since I was a kid.
Okay.
And it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was my gateway drug.
That can't be, you can't be the only one here in Sacramento.
In 1986, a kid transferred to our school, and he brought with him the first 2 or 3 issues. It had just started. And I, had seen comic books in grocery stores because that's where they were at the time, but I'd never really seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
And it was just, it hooked me immediately. And so I spent the next 10 years or so almost living at the local comic book shop, Comic Dreams in Manteca.
Comic Dreams, are they still there?
They are not.
Oh, okay.
They're not. The Comic Dreams logo will live on. That's something that maybe I can reveal later.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, and so, and I lived through the Image explosion in the 90s. And
did you follow Image?
I did.
We all did. Everybody.
Yeah, I mean, Spawn, Youngblood, that was my jam. Wildcats. Nice. And I entered a bunch of the contests that they would have for new writers. And so
even way back then, you were going for the comic book dream, which is great, which is awesome.
Yes.
I had a lot of ideas. I didn't do any of that.
Yeah, and so a couple of them were write short scripts. So I started writing scripts, and I had a friend that was an amazing artist, and we started collaborating together, trying to come up with stuff. But that stuff kind of falls apart when you're in college, and
it does. As soon as life hits,
and I'm like, well, I gotta, So comics kind of went by the wayside for a while, and then came back to it when a friend had a need for us to volunteer for a company that was being created, called Skybound, and you
guys might have heard of this little company.
It's spun out of Robert Kirkman's The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And so Robert Kirkman wanted to create his own label within Image, and that was Skybound. And my friend was editing. My friend Cena Grace was editing The Walking Dead at that time. And so he sent out feelers to all of his comic book loving friends. And I knew Cena through a friend that lived in LA. And we had still been going to... even though I didn't collect comics anymore, I still went to Comic-Con. We had gone to Comic-Con for the last 6 or 7 years in a row, even though I was no longer, I fell out of comics.
Comic-Con was so much more.
Comic-Con was just so fun.
Yeah.
My friend had pro passes so we could go every year. So it was just kind of an annual tradition. And they said, hey, why don't you guys come and work at the booth? And we said, of course.
Yeah.
And it was the year of the announcement of the Walking Dead TV show. We had the entire cast.
That would have been fantastic.
The entire cast at the booth doing a signing. And it was insane and just tons of energy. And I was hooked back into the comic book world at that time.
That was it.
That was it. Because I had to read, before I worked at the booth, I spent 3 or 4 months cramming everything Robert Kirkman. Because I'm like, I'm not going to work at this booth and sell Invincible, and people say, "What is this?"
Idea what it's about? Yeah.
So I read all of Invincible. I read all of Walking Dead. I just binged it, and that that hooked me right back in. So I was
That's
back.
awesome. And you still do work with Skybound.
Yes. I will be at Comic-Con this year working with Skybound.
So if you guys are going to be at Comic-Con,
Say
stop
hi.
by Skybound,
Yeah.
say hi to David, see what he's doing, make sure he's on point.
I have about a 100-foot path that I will walk because Image is right here and Vault will be right here. So I'm going to go back and forth.
Back and forth. You'll catch him at one of the those two.
Yes.
So from there, it was back in your life.
And back in my life, and I had always been writing, even though I hadn't written comic scripts in a long time. Writing was always just kind of my hobby, my thing to do. And started novels, and I ran Dungeons and Dragons and wrote like adventures and things like that for friends. Once I started getting into the world and talking to creators, most creators will tell you if you want to make comics. Just start doing it, and however you need to make that work. And so I at a different local comic shop, Big Brother.
Right downtown, guys. Kenny's a good guy, so go say hi.
Yeah, my friend Christopher Alvarez that I had met through there started volunteering with us, and he's an amazing artist.
So he was the first one to work with you when you were starting to build this. Okay.
So we started Ghost Thunder Collective with him and his now wife, Hannah Moore, and started making our own comics. And through the con circuit that I had worked with Skybound, I made some connections. You just start meeting people. Mm-hmm. And I met a artist, Paul Schultz, who lives in Canada. And when I was putting some scripts together, I contacted him and said, hey, any interest? And he jumped right in. And
Excellent.
So he did illustrations for all 4 of my self-published relationship drama comics that are now combined into one volume called The Wild and Certain.
And you guys can find that over there on the shelf. Is it at Kenny's too?
No.
It is? Okay, well then you can find it here.
Find it here.
You can just go say hi to Kenny.
Yeah. You can buy magic cards from Kenny.
And that one just finished. Like you just
got that done for Free Comic Book Day this year.
That's perfect.
Yeah. And so along with that, I was coming up with, because as a writer, you can just keep writing. You don't have to wait for an artist to draw something. And so I was always ahead of, I'd finish a script for an artist that I was working with, either Chris or Hannah or Paul, and then I would just keep writing. And so coming up with new pitches, new ideas, and getting some connections through the con circuit, my friend Tim Daniels went to go work with Vault.
Yes.
And so he does all their gorgeous design work, and Vault has top-notch comic design. If you look at a Vault book, you'll know, oh, this is a Vault book, because it's well designed. The logos are awesome. The interiors everything's perfect.
And Tim is amazing at promotion too.
Yes.
Like that man is, he's on it.
Yeah, Tim writes. He has great series out that you can get. Curse. He's got a couple of Vault titles. He's got Spiritus. Tim is a Renaissance man.
That's awesome.
He can do whatever. He can do it all. So through Tim, and I'd actually met the Wassels, Adrian and Damian, again through the con circuit at a WonderCon. I think it was the first WonderCon we did at Skybound. So it was years ago, and they were with a company called Creative Mind Energy that they had created with their father, had helped them out, and they had self-published a bunch of graphic novels.
Okay.
And they actually were right next door to us. And I was checking out their books, and I went over and looked, and I flipped through it, and everything looked professional. And I'm like, God, how long have you guys been around? These books look amazing. They're all like, this is our first show.
Okay.
And so I put that little check in the mental list. I'm like, keep track of these guys. And so that was kind of another in for me. And then a couple of years ago at Emerald City, I had just badgered them to the point where they listened to a pitch from me.
That's great.
And that was the start of Resonant.
Yes, absolutely. So did you
friendly persistence?
Yes. You got there's a fine line there.
Yeah.
So you pitched Resonant first?
I pitched two books to them. They liked both of them, but they really hooked into Resonant.
Okay.
And I pitched to Adrian, and he loved it immediately and was totally into it. And then the kind of discussion started, and send him scripts and give me feedback. And then I mean, 2 years ago, last April. So
was when you pitched?
When I pitched.
I was going to ask what kind of a time frame this is.
So, I mean, nothing happened for over a year, other than some general discussions.
It's not like they were lacking for books. They're putting out a ton of stuff.
I mean, comic books is not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Okay.
When you start, it's a long lead-in process.
And you went in just as the writer with the script.
Just as the writer with the script.
So everything outside of that.
Yep. And they wanted that. I mean, I had talked to them about that
Mm-hmm.
because they're all, no, we have, as a new comic company, everybody's hungry for work.
Yes.
There's 1,000 people pitching to them constantly.
I can imagine, yeah.
Artists, writers, letterers, colorists, everybody, because everybody just wants to work in comics.
It's a wonderful place to work.
People that love comics.
Yeah.
So they said, no, just bring the idea, bring the script, and we have plenty of artists that we can team you up with.
Okay.
I had an idea of what I wanted it to look like.
Okay,
sure.
So you were able to convey that to them.
Yes.
So that they could help find an artist who did it.
And the artist that we eventually got on was on the list of, this is what I want it to look like. I want it to look like Ale Aragon's work. And they're like, well, why don't we just have him do the art?
That's it. And it is beautiful, guys. I read the first 2 issues, as I told you, and he has this really unique style. It's loose, but but he still tells the story, conveys everything perfectly. His movement and his action is just absolutely beautiful, and he's able to create the tone for that world. Credit to the colorist too.
Oh yeah, Jason Wordie is just. I mean, the first page we saw, it's like, well, you should win an Eisner for this book off the first page.
It is beautiful
because he's creating it goes from. And a lot of the people that have reviewed the book have said the same thing, that it goes from this serene, kind of tranquil, verdant, kind of overgrowth, end of the world kind of world to this just shockingly violent, like really intense shift as the waves hit.
And it's very suspenseful too.
Yes.
You've created what, I'm not going to give you guys too much, I'm going to let you do the pitch, but in the first 2 issues, you've given us enough to have an understanding of what's going on, but we don't know what's going on.
As a reader, I like to be revealed to the world as you move through it. I don't mind being a little lost at the beginning, as long as I can get enough breadcrumbs along the way to kind of pique my interest and saying, oh, this is interesting. You're revealing more and more. So I'm not a big fan of giant text blocks at the beginning saying,
where they just tell you everything
10 years ago, and there's, the scroll of the movie. I mean, Star Wars can do it, but
everybody else.
That's about it. Everybody else, be cautious.
So he's going to show you, not tell you.
Yes.
So then I don't want to do it because I don't want to give anything away. What's the pitch for this for people?
Well, you go with the Hollywood pitch, right? It's Bird Box meets The Walking Dead. It's Why the Last Man, kind of a post-apocalyptic survival horror, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I tell people I didn't know I was writing a horror comic when I wrote it.
Until it started coming out that way?
I'm not really a horror fan. It's kind of in the A Quiet Place survival kind of genre, I would put it. And it's about a father who has to go out and get medicine for his son.
And he has to leave 3 children.
He has to leave 3 kids at home.
The oldest of whom is missing a leg.
Yes.
So she, the one who is in charge, also has.
There's some challenges, I would say.
Well, and the other one's bedridden.
Yes.
So there's many challenges.
There's many challenges. Yes. I wanted to make it as tense as possible.
So.
And in the world, it's been about 10 years since this phenomenon called the waves started, and it's these kind of waves of energy that travel across the world and cause people to follow their darkest impulses, whether that is self-harm or harming others or whatever thing is bouncing around in your subconscious, whatever thing you've wondered about, if you've ever held a knife and wondered, what would that feel like if I put that in my arm right now? Or stand at the edge of a bridge and say, oh, I wonder what it would be like if I stepped off this. And it doesn't have to be a suicidal or self-harm thought. It's just a random stray thought. These waves latch onto that, and then people act upon those waves.
Yeah, and it's not like a virus. It is literally a wave. The waves come, and you better be prepared. To deal with it.
And the way that people in our part of the Resonant world have learned to kind of prepare for it is cicadas respond to the waves before they come. sometimes animals can sense earthquakes before they hit, or crickets. It was really from crickets can tell you how hot it is by how fast that they chirp. So they can sense the precursor to the wave, and so when cicadas start going nuts, people know a wave is coming. We better do something to prepare for it. And usually, what they do is tie themselves down, so their wave time is spent fighting against the bindings instead of actually hurting themselves.
Okay.
Or hurting others. Our main character, Paxton, has studied Eastern philosophy and martial arts, so he is able to put himself into a Zen mindlessness state and just ride the waves out calmly. So it gives him a slight advantage.
As long as there's nobody else there.
As long as there's no one else there.
And the world is interesting too, because we got introduced to a village essentially of people.
Yes.
And we got introduced to a new religion that is out there in this new world. So I'm hoping that will come back around, because the designs on those on the main guy and his like bodyguard were pretty intense.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not going to promise they'll be back, but I don't think I would make them look that cool if I wasn't.
If you weren't going to, okay, that is right. So, how many issues are we looking at to begin with?
We're looking at 5 issues to begin with.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And that means that you guys need to check this out, pick it up, help it do well so that we can get more, because I'm telling you, I really did enjoy it. Whether you're interested in the post-apocalyptic stuff, which is more my jam, the science fiction version of it, there's got to be some
family
drama, horror.
Right.
It's all in there. Yeah. So you definitely want to check it out. It's coming out July 17th. And again, David will be in here on July 31st, all day, talking to you, signing books, just hanging out. Is there anything else they should know? Say hi to him in San Diego.
Hi, hi in San Diego.
And check out the Ghost Thunder stuff that's on the local shelf. Prior to that, if you want to see some of his writing.
Yeah, and you can follow me on Twitter at DB Andry. That's D as in David, B as in Brian, Andry. Also on Instagram, if you care about pictures of my dog. Who was in the book.
Yeah, I was about to say, made a special appearance.
Yeah, I'm not gonna write a comic and not put my dog in it.
And boy, is your dog well behaved.
She's much better in the comic than in real life.
Boy. If that's based on your dog, good
job. If it was based on my dog, the dog would never get up other than napping, and would not do anything.
Would not do any of the stuff it did. Okay,
no.
All right, fair enough. Oh, keep going. Where else?
That's main, or you can follow Vault Comics. It's at Vault Comics on Twitter. They will post all kinds of information. You can check out the Vault Comics website. You can check out GhostThunder.com for my Ghost Thunder stuff, and we have a Ghost Thunder Twitter, which is _Ghost Thunder. And we do a lot of local shows. So we'll be at Silicon Valley Comic Con. We'll be at Stockton Con. I'll have some exclusive Resonant stuff at those shows, plus all the cool Ghost Thunder stuff. Yeah.
God, well, that's exciting. This is really exciting. I mean, and I think you said it too, for a lot of people who are watching, and you're seeing him do this and actually get it out there. One of the things that I found most impressive is the thing you seem to stress the most is just keep writing. Just write.
Just keep doing it.
Keep doing it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, this was a perfect confluence of events for me. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like I had written enough that I was better than when I started, right? Because the more you practice something, hopefully the better you get at it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most definitely.
So I had written enough. I had a good pitch at the right time. And I knew enough people that I could get it in front of people. So the path to making comics is strange and different for everybody.
Yes.
My path is not going to be someone else's path, but the main thing is, being lucky is being ready when the opportunity strikes. So all the stuff and all the Ghost Thunder stuff and all the writing I did that most people will never ever see, that all prepared me to do the real thing when I had that opportunity. So the number one thing is be in a habit of doing the work. If you're an artist, draw every day. If you're a writer, write every day.
And God, you get up early to write.
I mean, it's not super early, but
But I mean, you've told me that you have your morning routine, and part of it is writing.
Yep.
Which, while the rest of you were sleeping, this man's already up putting pen to paper.
Yeah.
So, well, that is good advice. And of course, obviously, you're passionate about comic books, which is great. So you got to love them. Make sure you guys mark July 17th. Let me know if you need it in your saver. And then the 31st, because David will be in shop all day long. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very
I'm
much.
looking forward to seeing the physical copy.
Yeah.
So we will see you on the 31st.
Yeah. Are we clapping on 3, or is it 3 then clap?
On 3.
On 3.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Right? 1.
I missed it.
No. That was a sample. That was a sample. 1, 2, 3.
That was good.
You're good.
We're ready?